somewhere outside the city, in a countryside area, to an old house where there was a woman boiling something, some metal instruments on an ancient stove, and the metal instruments, and it smelled like alcohol. So she put me on the kitchen table, and most abortions that were performed during communism were labeled kitchen table abortions, because all abortions were operated on a kitchen table, in the kitchen, to be able to wash everything.
Prošlost ove rumunke je sadašnjost miliona žena širom sveta. Odluka Vrhovnog američkog suda da poništi ustavom garantovano pravo na abortus, staro skoro 5 decenija, podelila je Ameriku, ostavljajući tako državama da same odluče o ograničenjima ili potpunoj zabrani. Skoro nesagledive posljedice strogih zabrana najvidljivije su možda na primjeru Rumunije.
Before, the natality was somewhere around 250 to 300,000 newborns per year. In 67 and 68, we had about 1.5 million children who were born.
So when you think about your childhood, what is the first feeling that you feel when you think of those memories?
No, pentru mine o copilărie de nimic. Eu atât zic.
What is horrible is that the institutions were so crowded that even though we had a revolution, even though we had abortion legal again, the consequences of the abortion ban lasted for several generations. So we couldn't just close the institutions and get these children back into their families if it was possible, or have them adopted, because the numbers were too high. It was impossible to solve this quickly.
So I had no idea what was going to happen. I was sort of told that I was going to have a pregnancy termination, but I had no idea what that would feel like or what that would entail. No information whatsoever.
Do danas nije stiglo ni jedno zvanično izvinjenje i još uvek niko nije krivično odgovarao. Za mišljenje smo pitali i parlament i predsjednika, ali odgovore nismo dobili. Iako nismo dobili zvanične odgovore, neke nevladine organizacije i pojedinci podelili su sa nama svoja mišljenja i iskustva. U vreme komunizma govorili su: poznajem ženu koja poznaje ženu, ona će ti pomoći. Ovako Daniela objašnjava svoj jedini izlaz koji je tada videla kao mlada, perspektivna studentkinja, kada je saznala da je trudna.
So the first thing she was careful about the noise. So she put a rag in my mouth, so I wouldn't scream or I wouldn't be heard by anybody around. Because there were people who, if they suspected that there was something like that going on, they would have told the police. Not getting any reward or anything. They were just good citizens, and they would tell the police and incriminate those people. And the punishment was 2 years of imprisonment for the woman who had the procedure, for the person who helped her, and even more for the doctors if there were doctors involved.
Ilegalni abortusi obavljali su se uglavnom u zabačenim mestima bez ljudi, uglavnom kod osoba koje ni na koji način nisu bile medicinski obučene za takvu proceduru.
She tormented me as what I will never forget for a long time, and I couldn't scream or do anything, and I was so hurt. After a long time, she paused and she said that it's over.
Ipak, jutarnje mučnine su se nastavile. Daniela je shvatila da je još uvek trudna. Ovog puta otišla je kod lekara. Naravno, ponovo ilegalno.
In the kitchen, on another kitchen table, where this obstetrician gynecologist actually finalized the abortion, finished it, and told me I was lucky I didn't die in the span of time that elapsed from the first botched abortion to the time I got there to him. Because a lot of women died because of that, actually. Either they performed abortion on themselves with a plastic coil through which they introduced a lot of crazy stuff, soap and water, or lemon, or vinegar, where they introduced plants.
Do sada je polovina država u Americi uvela ograničenja ili u potpunosti zabranila abortus. U nekim državama to znači zabranu od začeća, čak i u slučajevima incesta ili silovanja.
Najpogođenije su žene koje su siromašne iz manjinskih zajednica. To su uglavnom crnkinje, pripadnice latino populacije. One su jednostavno u nižim materijalnim i socijalnim slojevima inače i one su u većem riziku da prosto obave abortus ili negde ilegalno, a onda samim tim da ugroze svoje zdravlje i svoj život na kraju krajeva. Ako poslodavac nije taj koji ženi plaća abortus, a ona je iz nekog nižeg socijalnog statusa, onda ona ima dva izbora, ili da ga obavi ilegalno ili da ostane u drugom stanju i da rodi dete. Šta praktično znači to? To znači da one žene koje hoće da abortiraju imaju novca da to urade ili im poslodavac plati i moraju da putuju u drugu državu. U tim državama klinike za abortus su krcate. Velike su gužve, ne može sve da se postigne.
Prema podacima Svetske zdravstvene organizacije koji se odnose na period pre zabrane u američkim državama, godišnje se izvrši više od 25 miliona nebezbednih abortusa, a čak 3 od 4 države imaju zakonske kazne, u nekim slučajevima duge zatvorske ili visoke novčane, za žene koje abortiraju ili za one koji im na bilo koji način pomažu. Istraživanja pokazuju da ograničeni pristup abortusu ne smanjuje broj urađenih abortusa. Naprotiv, restrikcije će najvjerovatnije naterati žene da pronađu drugo rešenje i dovesti do porasta nebezbednih abortusa. I pored svih upozorenja i primjera iz davne, ali i bliže istorije, ova tema ne prestaje da bude aktuelna. Prema podacima feminističke organizacije Filija u Rumuniji, preko 300 žena imalo je abortus u nebezbednim uslovima u poslednje 3 godine. Iako je ova država sa najvećim brojem maloletničkih trudnoća u Evropi, seksualno obrazovanje i edukacija u rumunskim školama je ukinuta. Organizacije koje su protiv zabrane abortusa kažu da su same, nemaju podršku države niti finansijska sredstva, za razliku od organizacija koje se u Rumuniji bore za zabranu i koje novac dobijaju od američkih hrišćanskih organizacija.
Unfortunately, I'm seeing that this decision is already work in progress in terms of being translated also in the EU countries. What is happening is that lots of these organizations that are working directly here in Romania are being funded by US money or are branches of organizations that have been working for decades in the US and now they are trying to implement the same model here in Romania and in other countries, as I told you with the situation with the refugee. they opened a hotline especially for refugees in Ukrainian and in Russian languages. And they are working closely with the government and with the churches on that.
Od 6728 abortusa izvršenih na zahtev 2022. godine u Rumuniji, 3/4 obavljeno je u privatnim klinikama. U prvih 6 meseci iste godine 13 od 41 okruga nije prijavilo ni jedan abortus u državnom, ali i ni privatnom zdravstvenom sistemu. Iako nemaju zakonskog osnova za to, direktori nekih državnih bolnica zabranili su abortuse.
The same doctors that they are not practicing any kind of abortion in the state hospital are practicing it for a lot of money in private ones. So it's nice when we are to our state practice to say, oh, we are pure and we are promoting life and we go by the church. But when it comes to our private practice, to charge $500 US dollars, which is a lot of money for a Romanian woman.
Već 2 godine u Jašiju, drugom najvećem gradu po broju stanovnika u Rumuniji, ni jedna državna bolnica ne pruža uslugu abortusa. U jednoj od njih radi i naša sagovornica.
Why did you decide to hide your identity?
Oh yes, okay. Because in every declaration we have, we might be contested by both parts, pro-life or pro-choice. So we don't want to. Probably, I think also my colleagues wanted that because of that. Because we don't want to be a part of pro-life or pro-choice friends or enemy. I'm a doctor. I don't take part and I'm not pro-life or pro-choice. I say we have to give education to women as much as it's possible in order them not to require abortion, but if they want and have decided to require abortion, just to have it. So that makes me an enemy of both parts, also pro-life and also pro-choice.
While we are looking at the history, you can see that it only takes, one influenced person or one moment of weakness or of not paying attention and things can really collapse. So we are pretty much in a moment in which we are trying to do damage control. And of course, the US decision really empowered them, the anti-choice actors actually, and pretty much legitimized their actions until now. And now I think they're trying to move towards Europe with new forces and with lots of money and resources that we don't have to tackle this.
Fetus je vlasništvo čitavog društva. Svako ko izbegava da ima decu je dezerter koji napušta zakone nacionalnog razvoja. Ovako je govorio Ceausescu. Plan da poveća populaciju za žene je značio patriotsku dužnost. Njegov san počeo je polako i da se ostvaruje, ali na posljedice velikog broja novorođenih beba država jednostavno nije bila spremna. Razmere nastale katastrofe postale su vidljive tek nakon pada komunizma, kada su se u zapadnim medijima pojavile slike prepunih sirotišta. Humanitarne organizacije ostale su jedina nada ovoj deci.
Suite à la chute du dictateur roumain Nicolae Ceausescu en décembre 1989, l'Occident a découvert l'horreur des orphelinats roumains. Choqué par les images d'enfants maltraités au regard hagard, je décidai de créer une association humanitaire avec des amis. Notre but, venir en aide aux orphelinats roumains. Nos efforts se sont vite concentrés sur l'orphelinat de Poprican, au nord-est de la Roumanie.
It was a nightmare really, because I come from a very good, you know, you say bourgeois background in France, and I had done a bit of help, like social help in France, charity a bit work. But when I saw the kids the first time I arrived, they were so in need of attention and affection. One of the first things which shocked me is that a lot of them were shaved. Their hair, girls, boys, both of them, they were shaved because they were because of lice. The smell in the dormitory was awful, because there were 2 or 3 sleeping in the same bed, and a lot were peeing on their bed. But I remember also very smiling children, very happy to see, like every child smiles, even if he or she has a hard life. So I remember a lot of smiles, a lot of joy as well.
Do 1997. Elizabeth je 3 puta godišnje odlazila u Rumuniju, ali i danas je u kontaktu sa mnogima. Neki od njih pristali su da svoje priče podele i sa nama. Po izlasku iz sirotišta, Marius je deo svog života proveo na ulici. Ipak, uspeo je da završi fakultet za fotografiju. Danas svoje slike izlaže širom sveta, a one iz najranijeg detinjstva još uvek pamti.
Lipsă momentul acela când era între muchii de cuțite, adică între prezența unor huligani și noi, la fi prezenți la acea scenă a violenței, bătuți în plină iarnă și mai apoi scoși din dormitor printr-un ger de nedescris și aducând apă la găleată și pe acea ulterior bătut la tălpi cu dita mai furtună. Mai sunt ceva, dar nu cum a fost atunci, se mai repetă, cum e inevitabil. Și numai că eu, cât și colegele, au fost la un moment dat o colegă de-a mea, fostă colegă, care din cauza asta a ajuns într-un spital de psihiatrie. La mine am avut puterea de a trece și am păstrat un echilibru.
Miha i njegova supruga Sandra odrasli su u sirotištu, oboje napušteni po rođenju. Toplinu doma koja im je u detinjstvu uskraćena danas su uspeli da izgrade sami.
Eu le amintesc când mi-amintesc la copilăria mea. Eu mi-amintesc și bunul, și bine, și rău. Dar din păcate mai mult rău decât bine. Așa am avut noi parte. Dar noi să fim sănătoși.
Eu, sincer să vă zic, nici la cel mai mare dușman nu i-aș povesti viața asta care am avut. Chinuiala. Cea mai periculoasă a fost chinuiala.
Și seara când erau dormitori de fete, vreo 2 dormitoare de fete și restul eram de băieți. Așa, seara când ne întâlneam la spălat, fiecare dormitor avea cu lighean la ușă, ne spălam pe față, păcari pe picioare. Și fiind așa mai mare,
Čak i nakon pada komunizma, zlostavljanja i zloupotrebe su se nastavile.
We had set up a system of sponsorships of kids by sponsors. We found sponsors in France, and a family was sponsoring the kid and giving a certain amount of money every month, and that money would help us do things in the orphanage, like building new dormitories or things like that. And the one I have decided to sponsor, Carmen, her name was Carmen. I remember it was November 1996, and I asked Dan, I was in France, but I asked my friend Dan, the social worker, there, how is Carmen? You haven't given me any news from Carmen. And he told me Carmen is in hospital. She's got like sort of lymphoma, and 10 days later she was dead. Nobody really cared, so nobody went to hospital to see her. In hospital, she was probably treated the last one because she was coming from an orphanage. Maybe something else dodgy happened because it was at the time there was a lot of organs traffic as well. So I don't know what happened really. We never managed to get any file or anything, but she died.
I don't think people knew what was actually going on in these institutions, because we had no free press, of course, and all the newspapers were talking about such a beautiful life in the orphanages. There was a whole propaganda saying that the state is a better parent than your biological parents, because you need to work, because you are poor, because you are uneducated. We're doing a better job. So you had these huge photos of nurses, pretty nurses, taking the baby and raising the baby to be the new human that Ceausescu wanted, while you can go to work and deal with your life. So many women, I think, many mothers, many families thought that these institutions might represent a better chance for their children compared to what they had to offer in a very, very poor country. We can't know for sure, but because of all these illegal abortions and abortions that didn't succeed, women trying to perform an abortion but still carrying the children and then giving birth and abandoning the child, there were many children with disabilities connected to these abortions. So in 10 years we had a huge raise of homes for deficients.
Takva deca, ali i sva ona koja su imala i najmanje zaostajanja u mentalnom i fizičkom razvoju, smeštana su u posebne bolnice, koje su bile poznate kao ustanove za nepopravljive. Prema podacima Instituta za istraživanje komunističkih zločina, procenjuje se da je između 67. i 90. umrlo više od 15.000 maloletnika, hospitalizovanih u 26 bolničkih domova za, kako ih je država nazivala, nepopravljivu decu. Od 73. do 91. u ovakvoj instituciji u Sigetu umrlo je 239 dece. Zvanični izveštaji govore da su umirali od zanemarivanja, neuhranjenosti i nemedicinskih uslova. '97. Zakon o zaštiti dece je promijenjen, tako da sve institucije koje su bile pod okriljem ministarstava prebačene su na nadležnost okruga. Iste godine je uz promjenu legislative osnovan i poseban hraniteljski sistem, koji pre toga nije postojao, sa ciljem da kreiraju podršku, smanje broj dece u institucijama i spreče napuštanje dece, osnovana je i organizacija SERA. Za 27 godina rada Sera je zatvorila 86 institucija svih tipova.
Little by little, within these 25 years of reform, the capacity of these institutions diminished. We can still find out this year, for example, 2023, small institutions with 20, 24, 30 children. But the state decided to close down all these institutions and to admit that the residential units can only be of two types. They are called now family-like homes, and they can be only apartments of 6 children maximum capacity, or small houses with 12 places.
1990. godinu dana nakon pada Čaušeskog, abortus je ponovo liberalizovan. Procenjuje se da je samo te godine u Rumuniji bilo oko miliona abortusa. 14 godina bilo je potrebno da rumunska populacija ima manji broj abortusa od novorođene dece.
Don't forget that in '66 the abortion was the main measure for contraception, and now in 1990 you're saying to the population, okay, now the abortion is liberalized and you can use it as a contraceptive measures. But in 1990 we're having pills, we're having intrauterine equipments and so on. But the population didn't know about it. So they thought again that the abortion is the only contraceptive measure, and that's why it raised so high, and it produced a lot of course, mortality, maternal mortality, mortality after abortion.
Nakon pada komunizma, slike prepunih sirotišta koje su do tada bile tajne za rumunsko društvo, ali i čitav svet, postale su javne. Granice ove zemlje otvorile su se za usvajatelje iz zapadnih zemalja. Usvajanja su trajala sve do 2004. kada je zbog otkrivene trgovine decom uveden moratorijum na međudržavna usvajanja. Ali to je značilo i kraj procesa usvajanja za onu decu koja bi možda imala šansu za srećniji život.
What was horrible to watch also was that in 1990, when our borders were open and many people from abroad wanted to save these children, when they took children from institutions with disabilities, like Siget was, the children were not disabled. After 6 months, 1 year of being loved, of being cared for, of being fed, of being recovered from numerous therapies, they recovered. And they were not disabled, which unfortunately for the children who were left behind, they led a life of disabilities because they didn't have that chance.
In Romania, abortion was banned for 23 years. At least 10,000 women dead. More than 100,000 children institutionalized. What do you want? What more do you want as a, history that's been documented for the country, and you want to bring it back to those times again?
Kada pogledamo trenutno stanje, a onda i razmere posljedica ovakvih zabrana, ostaje pitanje. Zar rumunska lekcija iz istorije sa svim podacima, brojkama i ljudskim sudbinama nije bila dovoljan eksperiment?